Welcome to episode 111 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Caroline Kid. We'll get to her in a little bit, but as you may know as a longtime listener, this is Brian. Ronnie is out for the day, so it is me to get us kicked off. This was a really great interview. I think you guys will really like it. I had a lot of fun with Caroline, and so did Ronnie. And so instead of going over my normal spiel of what's happening in my life and what's happening around the state of New Jersey, we will just kick it off right to the interview. So I hope you all like it.
All right, everyone. We're here today with singer-songwriter Caroline Kid. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Caroline. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Not that long ago was the release of your newest single, so we'll definitely jump into that in a minute. We always like to start, though, with the cliche. Tell us a little bit about where you're from and how music was in your household growing up, things like that.
Okay. Gosh, music in my household. So I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa, or west of Des Moines, Iowa, in a town called Waukee. And that's where I went K through 12, and where my parents still live. And music in our household growing up, my parents were big Motown fans and also Carolina beach music fans. And so every night at dinner, we had dinner music, and it was just like we could not eat until dinner music was playing. And I think that that definitely seeped into my veins. We watched a lot of documentaries on the Temptations, the Four Tops when I was young. And I think that just sparked an early interest in music. And then I became a choir kid and did that all through school. So music was just always a part of my life growing up. And then I got to adulthood and it wasn't in my life at all. And I was like, I need to chase this down again. I think there was a part of me missing for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think the music at dinner time is a lot better than sitting in front of the TV and eating dinner. No, that's cool. I'm also a big fan of Motown, and that Temptations movie, every time you're just like flipping through the TV and it's on, you have to just stop and watch it no matter where it is in the movie. You have to watch it. No, but that's awesome. What other kind of influences was around during dinner time music, say?
Oh gosh. So doo-wop was an influence, but I mean, it's a strange grab bag spanning from the 60s through the 80s. Yeah. Kind of, there's some early doo-wop. There's like Carolina beach music, which like I think is kind of like a regional. It was like a regional sound, sort of these live bands playing at parties in the 60s, and that was like my dad's era. So we listened to a lot of that, and at the time, of course, we were listening to CDs, and a couple times. He found that there was these anthologies that he could buy, like they kind of like call now for 20 hours of uninterrupted music. And so we had, I think, at least three boxed sets of beach music that we listened to. And I mean, my sisters and I can sing every single word, even after not having listened to it for like 20 years. So even though there was not that much of a variety, I think a lot of it was beach music and Motown, a little bit of doo-wop. It was on repeat. So it's like what could have been variety was a lot of music on repeat. But yeah.
That's awesome. I was also a choir kid, so I lived in like the doo-wop. I was in, select choirs and quartets and stuff like that. So I loved it. Trust me. That was going to be my question is like, who decided to pick the CD or whatever that we were listening to for dinner?
Oh, I mean, it was Dad until it was me, and then I would get to pick, for my limited selection. But it was really fun. Fun memories. He's hard of hearing now, so we don't get to do that anymore. It's just got like almost like hilarious. Like we tried to do it for a while and it didn't. We had to stop because we were blasting it so loud we couldn't talk to each other. But those were the good old days.
Other than getting involved in choir and all that, did you have any like influence in playing music? Like, did anybody in your family play before you got into choir, or was it really kind of just choir and then it just took off from there?
Yeah, it was really just choir. And I found it to be very limiting. It was like, I knew I loved singing. I knew I loved performing. Any opportunity to audition for something, I was going to take it. Any extracurricular activity that I could do and sink my teeth into, I wanted it. But as I got older, I always found it harder and harder to accept that really traditional classical music was where I needed to be. But it felt like it was my only option. I think that's something, I would challenge people in the arts education to think about, in choir programs across the country is, are you thinking about how kids can transfer these skills to the real world? Because I didn't feel at that time that I had a license to write a song. I thought that pop music was for someone else, or country music or any sort of popular music was for the others. It was for Hollywood. It wasn't for a small town in Iowa girl growing up. And so I didn't even allow myself to think about a future or a path or an identity as an artist until really after college. And I was just so frustrated that I'd tried being a music major a couple of times. I had bought a keyboard and it was not going well because I didn't know how to write and I didn't have anyone in my circles of influence that were creating songs. So it didn't even really occur to me until I was in my early 20s that it was even a path to take. So I always kind of found it limiting, but I knew I loved it. And that spark, that ability to create, that ability to take a performance and communicate yourself through it was really intoxicating to me. And so that's what led me to, honestly, I feel like one of my origin stories as an artist is singing a lot of karaoke in those years, right before I decided that I wanted to pursue music. I was just singing karaoke and I was like, is this all there is? Is this where my music career goes to die? Because I don't know what to do now. I could sing the national anthem. I've done that a million times. I could go join a community choir, but is there something just kind of unfulfilling about it? So I didn't really have to answer your question, I didn't really have a North Star or an influence or someone who I'd seen walk that path. And I think that's why it took me so long to get to it myself.
Yeah. So you mentioned starting after college and, kind of getting into that a little later. When did you know, or was there a moment, a light bulb went off and you were like, yes, this is it. This is what I'm doing. And, was it on a karaoke stage where you wanted more than that or yeah.
It's a series of small moments where it's maybe I could do this, to, I could do this, to being I think I want to do this, and it's that it was kind of it slowly happened over time. And one of those first dominoes was a karaoke night. And I sang Alicia Keys at a dive bar in Seaside, Oregon. And my friend Andy, who had been a marketing manager for Live Nation for years, had seen a lot of, he was probably the closest to the music industry that I knew. And I was out, obviously in Oregon, away from Nashville or LA or anything. And so I didn't really have line of sight into the industry at all. And he's like, Carol, you could probably do this if you wanted to. And I was like, shut up. Maybe really singing? And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And he's like, you only need 4 songs to get started. he's like, I've seen people get on stages with as little as 4 songs. And so that haunted me for years. And I, kind of slowly started to be like, what if I just did 4 songs? How would that start? And I got a keyboard and started to write and stuff. And then the next time I think I really believed that I could maybe be something a little bit more was when I visited Nashville for the first time. And I went and just was a spectator at Jed's open mic night, where everybody gets up and sings 2 songs. And it was just such a grab bag of people that came up to sing their songs that night. And I thought it was going to be all Carrie Underwoods that got up that night, because I'd never been to Nashville before. I didn't know what it looked like. And it was so many different people that were just having the time of their lives, expressing themselves through song. And I was like, wow, I could be scared of this, but I'd be scared of people that are having a lot of fun. Like, what if I was just one of those people that had a lot of fun? Maybe there's room for me. So, so little moments like that have happened throughout the course of this journey that have made me, and I feel like I'm still having them, quite honestly. Like, you deal with a lot of imposter syndrome once you actually start to get going. It starts to reveal itself to you, your path, I guess.
Yeah, the doing this podcast, I feel like more often than not, my new phrase is imposter syndrome. I totally understand that. I think what I like most about that is having little moments along the way. To me, that feels more like you're moving in the right direction, as opposed to like that one big light bulb and then you're forever chasing that feeling or whatever. But I like the idea of like along the way, it's reminding you that you're where you're supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like I have to teach myself to look for those moments too.
Yeah.
Hard times. Yeah. Dude, imposter syndrome is just, we're all dealing with it. How did we all get it? How do we all get afflicted with this thing? It's like, it's a pandemic of imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So bad.
So you mentioned needing 4 songs and, like he said, put 4 songs together and you're on stage, whatever. So I kind of want to transition that into the songwriting side of things. So you put out your debut EP last year, 2022, which, if I'm not mistaken, almost all of those were written by you. So kind of take us, 1, through your songwriting process and, inspiration, and 2, coming from not really being around the Nashville scene, quote unquote, and having that songwriter circle, I guess we could say, how that came to you. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So yes, the first project, the first EP that I put out, which is the only EP I've put out, has 6 songs that I wrote myself over the course of my first 6 years in Nashville. No correlation between the years and the songs, just realizing that now. But I started writing. I started picking away at the writing process when I got to town. Of course, I bought a guitar like on my way to town. So I didn't know how to play an instrument or write a song. It was all kind of from scratch. I was like, I don't know how to figure this out, but I'm going to. So one of the first songs that I started writing was Wyoming, which ended up being the first single on that project. And I would not say that the final form was the first form. I'm not, didn't have it all figured out right away. But I kind of just started to try to figure out how I could tell stories of my own and how I could put my thoughts and my emotions into song. And I really enjoyed that process. I was scared for several years to try to collaborate with anyone, that imposter syndrome, feeling like I'm not worthy, or that my songs aren't good enough, or people will be disappointed if they write with me because I'm so inexperienced. So it took me a few years to get started writing with other people. And then as I started to write with other people, I learned just how magical this city is. and how being able to play make believe for several hours with someone is how you get to make so many friends and have this kind of like renewed sense of energy, not only for music, just for your life. Like, it's just so enriching to be a part of this dream, even if I'm just a small piece of it. But I felt like there was a distinction between these songs that I wrote in this period of time when I was trying to figure out what kind of storyteller I was, and the kind of songs that I was writing when I started to put my ingredients into a pot with someone else's ingredients and stir them together. I like them both, but they're different art forms to me. And so the first project, I wanted to just make sure I had some record out there that was or a form of record, not like record in the musical sense, like that I had a voice. It's kind of a brazen thing to be like, I want to make sure that people know that I write songs, that these are my songs, this is my voice. And I think the only way that I'll feel like I can really do that is if I just write all of these myself and put only solo writes on this EP. So this next batch of songs that I've started releasing is got a different kind of magic, and they're bigger. They take more risks, and they incorporate what happens when you start to borrow other people's talents and brain, and you're able to make bigger songs and tell bolder stories. I think, I have limitations to myself. We all have limitations, and you can make something great when you do it with someone else. So this next project is, this next series of songs that I'm putting out is kind of what's come from the joy that I've experienced in co-writing and getting those muscles stronger.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's really, unique, and like you said, brazen for one, to just say, I'm writing all my own songs right now, and I'm going to release these songs to the world, because as that's not the Nashville way, right? Is to be a singer-songwriter is not the way that Nashville really has gained its popularity and success. And then you're absolutely right. To open up yourself to another writer, and like you said, to pretend, and then to have all of those, ideas and stuff, because you are, and I think that's everybody. We're all limited to our own, thoughts and experiences, and to have someone else with a completely separate thought process and experiences, join in together for that one project or that one song is, It is ultimately the best. Now, I'm not saying that single songwriters don't create some of the best music, because it's obviously true. But in the grand scheme of things, you end up having this like massive song or this massive feeling that happens, that comes out of it. And I don't know. I think the track that you took is awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I feel like at some point, I think the next evolution for me will be taking a song I didn't write, but that I can see myself in, something that celebrates the songwriter, like treat people like you want to be treated. I'd love for someone to take my music sometime and make it their own. And I feel like, little by little, I'll get less paranoid, and I'll like release myself to the vulnerability of collaboration, but taking baby steps right now.
Yeah.
So Wyoming being the first songwriting experience. I know you said it's a little different from the first go around, but that's the hell of a song to have your first official write on. So I think you're in good shape there, if that's going to be the first one.
Thank you so much.
I'm curious too. So coming to Nashville, not having, no songwriting background, essentially, coming to town, writing by yourself, and then transitioning into the co-write side of things. Was there, how do I want to word this? I guess it goes back to imposter syndrome, but I was to say, is there was there like a hesitation in making that transition from just you to like co-writing and essentially just being more out there and open?
Well, I was just really relieved when I found someone to collaborate with that I felt like I trusted. I mean, really getting that first co-write, overcoming that first hurdle, I feel like is like one of the hardest things that I hear people talk about. Like they get to town, and they're like, oh yeah, co-writing. And I'm like, yeah, I know, I haven't done that yet. Like someone who's really fresh to town, and you're like, oh, okay. So like, you're as scared as I was to say, hey, let's do this. I was really lucky that I met Tom Lorman, who has been a longtime collaborator of mine. We actually collaborated on a little pop project a couple of years ago before I really leaned into my solo project. And he asked me to write. We met at an NSAI event, and I played Wyoming at this NSAI event. It was like a song feedback type thing. And he asked me to write, and I was like, I haven't really done this before. And he's like, don't worry about it. And then we ended up writing, starting a wonderful co-writing friendship together and collaboration. And it was like, wow, I think I really got lucky for whatever reason that the stars aligned. Like I was carrying my Breed Love guitar out of this event on my back, and he followed me out, and he's like, is that a Breed Love? I also play a Breed Love. And you're like, wow, that's so cool. And I think, I was scared to cross that hurdle to write with other people, but by putting myself in the way of, in the way of getting snagged by someone else, I was able to have someone else kind of help me along in that way. And that made it feel a lot more palatable, I guess. And then once we got together, it was like, oh, we just have to talk about our feelings and strum some chords. I can do that. Yeah. I love talking about my feelings. Let's go.
No, that's great. And, the minute you said Breed Love, I'm also a Breed Love player, and I love their guitars for one. I think that's great because there is a ton of like hesitancy. I find it myself too to open up with another person or even to try to co-write with somebody else, because it's scary. You don't know what to say. You don't know if that person is going to look at you and be like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah. That's exactly the feelings that happen. And it's great that he was able to just be like, yeah, let's just do it. It's going to be easy.
Totally. And those people that make you feel that way, that make you feel like you can't talk about your feelings, or that make you feel awkward, it's just like they're never going to make it, and like there's no way. You have to be the most talented, most achieved people that I feel like I've met in this town are the ones that just wear their heart on their sleeve, and they're just ready to say yes and improv at any moment. It's and I think that once you realize that, that's when it really starts to be more fluid and easy to make new friends, find new collaborators and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's a good transition then. So let's transition into the new single and talk about all that. Before we talk about it, let's go ahead and put it on for you. So do you want to introduce it for us, and then we'll talk about it after the break?
Yeah, this is my latest single, Whiskey Lies.
You're not. Bourbon dripping from the hourglass. Second chances are spilling fast. You said you were out with your friends. You said it won't happen again. Whiskey lies in my bed tonight. Whiskey lies to me every time. I know how you get when you get like this. 100% sealed in your goodnight kiss. Whiskey says everything is fine. The whiskey lies.
All right, so let's talk about Whiskey Lies. First and foremost, what was the inspiration behind that song for you to be the next release here?
Yeah. So that song I wrote with my friend Tom. He's one of the writers on it, as well as Brian Alexander, many years ago. It was probably one of our first 5 writes, maybe, way back when. And I mean, the original idea was that as I was starting to co-write, I was starting to get annoyed by so many people being eager to put whiskey and eyes into every song, just like these 2 words, just have, like, look into her eyes and drink the whiskey. And I was like, this is starting to annoy me. So it's like, I need to spite myself and write a song called Whiskey Eyes. Just because. But then I started to kind of think about telling a different story about whiskey. And like, I thought there could be an opportunity to kind of, tell the other side of the story of kind of all of these party boy songs that are out there. Country loves a good drinking anthem, but that is not the whole story. And country is an honest art form. So, so I kind of took Whiskey Eyes and turned it into Whiskey Lies. And I remember sitting on my lunch break at Thistle Farms, which I still love to go there and eat lunch, and like just kind of like scribbling down this idea. And I brought it to Tom and Brian, and we brought it to life. And we kind of felt like we knew something was there. We knew there was something in it, but we didn't know what to do with it. So, over the few months that followed, we made a demo. We let a couple years go by being like, yeah, maybe we could really pitch this. I don't think any of us at the time really knew how to pitch songs. I don't think we were like in the room doing that. So nothing really happened with it. We would just show it to our friends and be like, isn't this cool that we made this? And then another couple of years went by, and I finally did something with it by entering it into the Tennessee Songwriter Week competition in 2022, and made it to the semifinals. Got to go to the Bijou Theater, which is so gorgeous. It's in Knoxville. And I got to sing that song to that auditorium. And it was really special. And it was like, I think this feels like this song really does have a life of its own. It was kind of validating to me to hear that, to get that feedback that this could win a qualifying round. People would acknowledge it and offer this song opportunities. So there was really no question when I thought about the next batch of work that I wanted to put out. I wanted to incorporate those co-writes that taught me how to be a better writer and start to see the magic of Nashville. And this is one of the earliest ones that I think stretched me beyond the writer inside that's just living inside of me. It's a song. It's kind of an angry song about whiskey. You could say it's a sad song, but I don't think it's as much of a sad song as it is an angry song. And it's not really, it's not about a person. It's about whiskey, and it's about the way that whiskey lies. It personifies this story of a person being done wrong by somebody, not the person, the whiskey did him wrong. So it's, but it's got a lot of electric guitar in it. So it kind of rocks.
Yeah.
So it's sad, but it's, you still like to sing it at the top of your lungs.
No, I really like the song. It's catchy as hell too. I found myself singing it as we were getting ready for this Zoom. I was humming it in my head, and I always speak on the production side of it. It's just the way that I hear things, and I don't know. Is it a steel guitar or is it just a slide guitar that's in there? I can't tell if it is or not, but anyways, the production is so good on it. The dynamics of that song are like a roller coaster, and I love it. And then the guitar parts are great. Like, they're just kind of screaming along in the background and everything. It's so good. It's such a good song.
Thank you so much. I mean, Andrew at Vibe King Studio, he really nailed it. He's helped me bring every song that I've released so far to life. He works with a wonderful group of studio musicians. So it's all live instrumentation. And one of the craziest experiences to say, hey, here's this song that I want to make. And they're like, give me 10 seconds. Okay, put your headphones on. And then they're just rocking it out. And I mean, it's just a sensory overload to hear your imagination come to life. And you're like, how did you know that this is what my hopes and dreams had for me? Like, just, it's super cool. So I feel like I really feel like sometimes I just can't take credit for my work, imposter syndrome, because they're so masterful at playing music. Yeah. And I'm so lucky that I get to borrow those talents.
Well, you should definitely pat yourself a little bit on the back, because if it wasn't for the song being as good as it was, it wouldn't lend itself to these musicians to be able to, make that song what it is. And it is. I've been in a couple of tracking sessions as the engineer, and there is no feeling like being in a tracking session. It is like, it's electric. There's so much creativity going on, and those studio musicians are so smart with how they, what they do, and it's kind of irritating as a guitar player because they're so good, and you're like, man, I would have had to really think about that.
100%.
Yeah.
When they start talking about like, oh yeah, go back to 3/4 diamond on the this that, and you're like, yes. And they're like, do you want this or do you want that? And I'm like, man, I'm out over my skis. But I always feel like, it's a tragedy if someone doesn't meet their potential, right? But it's another thing to be like, I must be at the absolute edge of my potential right now because I feel so dumb. Like, this is as smart as I'm ever going to be, because I don't know what I'm doing. But sometimes I think that's really good.
Yeah, I remember sitting in my cousin was a audio engineer also, kind of my mentor, and I was in Nashville. He had a studio in Nashville, and he was tracking or getting ready to track a song. So he was listening to the demo and just doing the numbers, right? Doing the whole number scale. And I'm sitting there watching him, and he's so fast with it, just like, yeah, this is a da-da-da-da, and then doing like the diamonds or Doritos or whatever the heck they were calling it. And you're just like, wait a minute, you're still talking about music here at this part?
100%. It's a whole different language.
Yeah. I don't even pretend to understand it. Brian talks and I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. So I always like to comment on the content side, the lyrical side of songs. And I absolutely love the idea that it is not about somebody else, and it's about the whiskey as opposed to the person. Granted, you can get there with thinking about the person, but I like smart, like clever wording like that. And absolutely phenomenal song. You mentioned that the semifinals for the Tennessee Songwriters last year, 2022, we're about a couple weeks since it's released to like streaming platforms and all that. How has the response been so far with it out in the world?
It's been really fun to watch it have a life of its own, and to see it start to take traction in small ways. I released my first project about 12 months ago. I think it was like 12 months ago this week. So it feels like, slowly getting the ball rolling in this song. Not all the people that are going to hear it have heard it yet. And I know that there's still a long way to go. It hasn't hit that viral sensation yet. And maybe it never will, but I know that it's just, it's a sapling starting its life. And I think it's going to have a long life out in the world as it belongs to other people, because it's already had a long life in my head and heart. It's been fun. And the music video got to be on cmt.com, which is really thrilling. And we had a lot of fun putting that together. And so it was fun to also bring the visual of Whiskey Lies to the world, and for them to see kind of what that could look like and how that story takes place, because it always has felt like a very cinematic song to me. And so we had a lot of fun putting it together.
This isn't on our platform. What did you think about shooting the music video? I mean, was that like your first take on the actor side of it?
Well, kind of, yeah. Like I had spun around in a field for 3 minutes on my last music video for "Do I Miss the Rain?" So that was, it kind of broke the seal on that one. But this was, this involved a little bit of thinking about how we were going to storyboard the relationship between the triangulation between the lead guy and the temptress and myself, and where we would be and how that would interact with the bar scene, and how we could bring it to a climactic explosion, and kind of having to think about how we wanted everyone to fit into those different pieces. It took a lot more directing, I think, than I realized, but it had a little bit of I feel like it had just like, it happened on a good day, when it was like a green light day. It was like a green light shoot. We got that music video done in several hours and several locations. We were just cooking. And I think because I was so high on the directing of the experience, I didn't even have time to think about the fact that I was acting. I was just like, we got to get through this. We got to get on to the next scene. We've got so many cool little shots I want to get. And that's really how I was distracted by that. I haven't even thought of it as an acting gig until like right now. You asked me. So,
Yeah. So I don't think I ever actually, I don't think, Brian, you know this either, but there was a good moment in time where all I wanted to do was get into music video directing. That was like the thing that I focused on for many years. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out for me, but we're here now. So that's good. Yeah. So you mentioned CMT, and I wanted to kind of jump into, I guess, the recognition side of things. So CMT, the boot, ACM, E, all those good programs out there. So what has receiving support from networks like them meant to you in this 12 months since the debut EP?
Yeah. Well, it's been really validating to have a hunch that the songs that I was making were worthy of catching on, were worthy of these sources that I would turn to find music that meant something to me. And so feeling like, feeling on the inside before anyone validates you that you think you have something that needs to be made because you think that it is valid, and then being able to create it and having the sources that you respect confirm that for you was really that was really special. I wanted to take this project from 0 to 1, and the EP helped me do that. And the fact that it was 0 to a big 1 by saying, yes, this is not only is this country music, but this is the kind of music that someone like these outlets would recognize was I'll always be really grateful for that. I think it's added the validity to me singing with my guitar, and it's helped me with my imposter syndrome a little bit.
Well, what's nice too about, not just, about Whiskey Lies, but, your, collection of music is that it lends itself so nicely to both, the traditional fan of country music, and then also, what's kind of happening now in the world of country music. It lends itself perfectly to that, where, outlets like this, aren't scared. They're not taking a risk on throwing like an older sounding traditional song out there, the hopes that, it's still going to catch on type of thing. And then, you're not also pissing off I'm going to put this in quotes, the traditional country folks, and, and it only being, pop music type of thing. So I think, your sound works perfectly. I definitely am a fan.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been interesting also kind of I was nervous about that. I was nervous about like being country enough, just because there's so many pop influences that I have. Like the first influence I gave you was Motown. Like you probably wouldn't have gotten that from listening to my music. But, as I write, I don't necessarily, listening to traditional country it's not in my roots. It's something that I found and that I fell in love with. And also a lot of music, country music is born of the Southeast United States, and I am from the middle of the middle. Yeah. So it's like if cornfield country is a thing, I feel like Haley Witters is making that happen for us. Like shout out Iowa girl. I was kind of nervous that, that kind of sound maybe would be too much of something, but it seems like it's going okay for now. I loved the tracks so much, the way that they turned out, and those are such nice things you said to me. So thank you. I'm figuring it out. Yeah. Back at a time, one song, one project.
Yeah. So we talk about authenticity a lot, and I feel like I'm getting that vibe from you that these songs are authentic to you. They live in you. Obviously, you're writing them, putting them out there. So yeah, you might not be writing for a specific like sound or a specific feeling or whatever the case is, but you're going to get there because what you're putting out is real.
Yeah, it is really important to me to capture the essence of an emotion in a song. Like that's one of the reasons I like songwriting so much, is that it's a leveler of emotions. There's no good and bad, there just is. And you just have to wrap a story around it, or you have to convey that. And music gives people a place to feel safe with any reaction that they have to a circumstance. And so I always want to keep that in my music. I want people to feel like they can listen to my songs because they know they can relate, or it makes them feel validated, or it tells them a story that helps them escape from their world and live in and borrow mine or borrow someone else's. Like I definitely, that feels like a pillar, like a non-negotiable. Like I can never write you a song about I can write you a song about a 1998 red VW Beetle, stick shift, license plate, Hot Wheels. That was my first car. I could write you that song, but I cannot write you a red dirt truck song, backwards hat girl song. That's not me, so. Yeah,
well, that's good. And I hope, I hate to say it this way, but we don't want those songs from you, right? Like we want the songs that matter to you.
If I'm writing them, just know that like I got a huge check. Be happy for me. Yes. Okay. And I sold out, and I'm probably doing fine.
You know what? I don't think there's anything wrong with selling out every so often. So if it happens, it happens. You have so you keep talking about this next collection of songs, and starting with Whiskey Lies. 2023. Oh, we're kind of coming to an end of the year here. What does the rest of 2023 look like for you? Anything you got coming out down the line you want to touch on?
Yeah, there will be another release before the end of the year. And then I've got a couple more that are real fun that I'm going to kick off 2024 with. This next batch of songs, I wanted to add something to the live show because I love a high energy live show. If we're going to hang out, I hope I have you laughing. I hope that I have you, I hope that we're doing something fun or active. Like, if to be with me as a person is to hopefully be doing something energetic together. And so I feel like my first set of songs, while they are meaningful, are a little bit lower energy than I am as a human. So I want to be able to convey myself authentically, throughout a live performance. And so, I love to pull on the sass, and I love to pull on the humor and stuff. And so you'll be seeing some of that in the stuff to come. It's going to be a really fun season.
No, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And yeah, I mean, this has been awesome. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. And do you want to let the listeners know where they can find you online?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Great to talk to you too. Thanks for letting me tell my story. The best place to find me is on Instagram. That's where I'm hanging out the most, at Caroline on the Go. That is Caroline on the Go. And on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon, wherever you get your, wherever you stream your music, you can find my tunes under the name Caroline Kid, 1D in Kid. So yeah, and hopefully more on the internet. You know, the pressures of social media, there'll be more to come, but yeah, hopefully you'll see me everywhere soon enough. But for now, you can definitely find me on Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, Caroline, it was an absolute pleasure getting to chat with you, and I'm going to piggyback Brian. I, for one, can't wait for the next couple of songs here with, especially sass humor. That's all right up my alley. So we're going to have a good couple next releases here. Yeah, no, we can't thank you enough. And yeah, I hope everybody jumps on board and enjoys this with you.
Hey, well, I hope everyone jumps on board and listens to your podcast. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's been really fun. Just talking shop.
All right, that was our interview with Caroline Kid. I mean, I, for one, really enjoyed talking with her, and I thoroughly like all of the music that she's releasing. This new EP being this new release of songs, I guess, will be, her take on the co-writing side. We talked a little bit about that in the interview. The original ones were all kind of solo writes, and she states that these next few songs have a little bit extra magic, as you say, and I really look forward to it, and I really think that she has a ton to offer. I hope everybody jumps on board with her and her music journey. For now, I'm going to sign out, and we want to thank Caroline for coming on Outside the Circle. Be sure to follow her on all of her social media music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with a track from Caroline Kid, Static.
3 chords and the truth, 4 tanks of gas. LA bound with Springsteen's greatest hits on blast. Pay stubs in her pocket with the lyrics she wrote about a boy who don't know a good thing till it's gone. Mama said, go, give it all you got. Now mama's shooting stars, shooting her shot. And she wants California to call her, New York City to know her name. She's a cul-de-sac baby, chasing skyscraper fame. And she wants to wear the crown, she don't care if it's plastic. She's gonna ride the radio all the way to the static. Across the city limits, angels on her side. If the ocean didn't stop her, she'd drive all night.